Cover them. Watch. Go, run over there.
It says a lot about both America itself and the police response in Uvalde that this is a moment of hope. Officers helping children out of a broken classroom window.
Yeah, go.
Because this orderly evacuation hides the 77 minutes of utter chaos from nearly 400 officers on the scene that day, with a Texas House committee report saying systematic failures could have contributed to the loss of life.
Hurry, push.
There's no question there was a failure of command that day, inside and outside that school district. No question. But one thing that every officer that was in that hallway has to live with, what happened in that room. That doesn't help the families, but it's something they have to live with.
This is the body cam footage from a Uvalde staff sergeant first on the scene.
Am I bleeding?
The shooter has already used over 100 of the 142 rounds he would fire that day. The staff sergeant retreats outside.
Dude, if I got shots fired, dude, we gotta get in there. He just keeps shooting. We gotta get in there.
A fatal decision is then made. The police chief in charge decides that it's not an active shooter situation, but a barricaded subject scenario with the gunman cornered. And so the priority becomes rescuing children in other parts of the school and not those in the classroom with the shooter. The report states, "We now know this was a terrible, tragic mistake."
The room is full of victims. Child victims.
It's 35 minutes later and a girl from the classroom has twice called 911. Yet none of the 376 officers, the so-called good guys with guns, have made a move. And with no clear communication and radios proving ineffective, the police chief in charge didn't even know about the 911 calls from inside the classroom. The report says that it's plausible that some of the victims who died on the way to hospital could have survived if they hadn't had to wait 73 minutes for help. Victims like 10-year-old Amory Jo Garza.
I mean, she was just an awesome person. She was the light of my life, and she was all like me, you know. We had a special bond, you know.
The report doesn't just criticize law enforcement, but the school and teachers as well, pointing to the lack of security and locked doors that allowed the gunman unimpeded access.
The school's 5-foot fence was inadequate. Despite a policy of locked doors, there was a regrettable culture of non-compliance. In fact, all 3 exterior doors to the building were unlocked that day, and multiple interior doors were not secured the day of the shooting.
But the report states that locking the doors may not have been enough to stop the killer entering. It would have simply slowed his progress. So the other question, beyond better officers and better doors, is what if the 18-year-old gunman didn't have an assault rifle in the first place?
Sir, if you can hear me, please put your gun down. We don't want anybody else hurt.
Tell him in Spanish.
Si me puede escuchar.
What if you banned those weapons entirely? That's a question many are asking, but not enough of them are in Washington. And so it goes on. On the day this report was published, a man with a rifle killed 3 people at an Indiana shopping mall. A 12-year-old girl was among those injured. She was older than every one of the 19 children killed in Uvalde.